Welcome, gentle healers, to another heart to heart session with Talk and Toast, the podcast where we sip on life's wisdom, spread love like confetti, and navigate the beautiful chaos of our existence, one toast at a time. I'm your host, Coach G, and I'm your friendly neighborhood guide through the roller coaster of love, healing, self love, and the wild adventure of life. Buckle up because we're about to embark on a journey of laughter, insight, and of course, a touch of sparkling wisdom. Here at Talk and Toast, we believe in the power of conversation to heal, the magic of self love to transform, and the resilience that blooms when life throws a plot twist or two. Whether you're navigating through the labyrinth of love, on a quest for self discovery, or simply enjoying a moment of solace with your favorite cup of brew, this is the space where you've been searching for. So grab your favorite beverage, whether it's a comforting cup of tea, a rejuvenating coffee, or a glass of your preferred potion, because here we talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between, all while raising our glasses to the beautiful mess that is life. Each episode will dive into a pool of stories, insights, and advice that make the journey worthwhile. Expect a sprinkle of humor, a dash of vulnerability, and a whole lot of heart. We're here to remind you that you're not alone in this adventure, and there's always a reason to clink glasses in celebration. Whether you're a seasoned love enthusiast, a healing aficionado, or just someone looking for a bit of camaraderie on this crazy ride, Talk and Toast is your cozy corner of the podcast universe. So, my wonderful, gentle healers, let's raise our glasses high and toast to love, healing, self love, and the unpredictable but beautiful dance of life. This Talk and Toast, where every episode is a celebration and you're always invited to the party. Welcome back, gentle healers, to another episode of Talk and Toast. I'm your host, Coach G, and today we're going to be diving into a topic that's both incredibly important and deeply personal for so many. It's how motherhood can affect our mental health. Becoming a mother is often portrayed as a time of joy and fulfillment, but it's also a journey that's filled with so many challenges, emotional shifts, and unexpected pressures. In this episode, I'm going to explore the complexities of maternal mental health. I want to share some insights on common struggles, discuss some ways to nurture your well being, share some of my own personal journeys, all while navigating the beautiful chaos of motherhood. Whether you're a new mom, a seasoned parent, or someone supporting a mother in your life, this conversation is for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Hey, before we get started in this episode today of motherhood and mental health, I definitely wanted to put this disclaimer out there that the content of this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatments in any way. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified mental health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a mental condition or the current state of your mental health. Enjoy the episode. All right, gentle healers. Motherhood is so beautiful. Motherhood is such a thing that, like I said, is such a moment of overwhelming love, joy, anxiety, some exhaustion. But there's so many things that we simply do not talk about. We do not share. We forget about because we are seasoned parents or we've been through our own set of battles and our battles don't all look the same. But one thing for sure, And two things for certain: it comes with a whirlwind of emotions, and it's absolutely no denying that. We go through hormone changes, we go through identity shifts, we go through these expectations from family and society. We all go through sleep deprivation and physical exhaustion. And in no way, shape, fashion, or form are you ever prepared for what the pregnancy or motherhood is actually going to bring you. The pregnancy and childbirth, that off rip brings significant hormonal shifts and fluctuations. One minute you're happy, the next minute you're sad. One minute you're feeling okay, the next minute you're nauseous. You're not quite sure one day from the next how you're going to feel. You give birth, and then you have like these high levels of estrogen, and your progesterone drop, right? And that in itself can have an effect on your mood and your emotions. You feeling sad or irritable or anxiety, and depending on where you are in your life, what the circumstances are, what the surrounding situation of the relationship that you're in, or the family dynamic that you have, or it, it's a whole host of reasons that can also change your emotions, heighten them, get checked out, anxiety. It is simply a whirlwind. And we don't speak enough about how to help each other through those moments. Sometimes we don't even know how to express or explain ourselves, what it is that we are feeling in that moment. One minute we can be super happy, and the next minute it's like, I'm sad, I'm crying, I don't know how I feel. Then you go through these moments and these thoughts while you're in the midst of these hormonal changes and these emotional changes, where now, especially as a new mom, feeling like, who am I? Am I still the same person? Am I not? You're gaining a new title of being a mom. And that can be scary in itself, because now you have the full responsibility of taking care of another human being. And this can drastically change what your thought process is of who you used to be. It leaves you feeling uncertain. You have some confusion about this role that you're about to step into. Are you going to be adequate enough as a parent? Do you feel like you have the tools in order to be a parent? Do you feel like you're even ready for this financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally? It's like all of these different things that you go through, and you're not sure of how to even process them. And I remember like being pregnant with my first daughter, and I was excited, but I was scared. I was worried if I was going to be a good enough mom. And I knew at 19, when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, that I didn't have a clue of what I was doing. Granted, I had a really great support system, my mom and my grandmom, to help me along the way. But there's also some things that was missed, right? Um, and missed in the sense of how to help me navigate through these feelings, through these emotions. And because at 19, my prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed to even be able to make, super sound or wise decisions. Now I'm a mom. I'm going through hormonal changes. I'm tired. I'm placing expectations on myself, as well as hearing other people talk about expectations. It just was a whirlwind of things that I just was not ready for. I was in college at the time, so I'm like, I'm gonna be a new mom. I'm a college student. I'm working. Like, where do Chanel fit in this dynamic of all that I have going on? And my relationship wasn't at the greatest with my oldest daughter's father. it just it wasn't the greatest. But I wanted it to work because of the sake of my daughter. It just it was a weird dynamic. And at 19 years old, I had no idea of genuinely and truly how to navigate through that. But then here came the moment of, like I said, societal. You know what I mean? It's a weird space to be in, to listen to other people place their unasked, unwarranted expectations on you on the type of mother that you need to be in order to raise a great child. And I think again about raising my children. All of my children are pretty much grown at this point. My oldest is now 21, my son is 18, and my youngest is 17. And they're, for the most part, the older two are out navigating life on their own and doing their own thing and, figuring life out and, working through their challenges and things of that nature. But raising them, I absolutely had no clue. It didn't come with a handbook. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did the best that I could. And I think that there are so many women out there that bash other women based on what they think the children should look like, or how they think the children should behave, or what is the mom doing? What is the mom not doing? And this, that, and the third. And I'm even guilty of it. I'll never say that I'm not guilty of it because it's that position of being a mom and just thinking like the child shouldn't be acting like that, or the child shouldn't be doing this, or child shouldn't be doing that. But then I catch myself because I remember those feelings of when I was raising my child, and going through the moments and motions of just based on other people's opinions, I'm not a good mom, or I'm not a sufficient mom, or because my parenting doesn't look like someone else's, I'm not doing it right. When in essence, I feel like I did a phenomenal job being a single mom, raising three kids alone, working, going to school, keeping them in the activities. I feel like I did the best job that I could with the tools that I had, and starting at 19 years old to be a mom. Yeah, there are mistakes that was made along the way, right? Who doesn't make mistakes? We're all human. We're all trying to figure it out. Again, parenting doesn't come with a handbook, but it's like instead of supporting one another, instead of making sure that a mom doesn't need help or need some assistance in one space or another, and not necessarily with the child, but with them themselves, we want to talk about her. We want to blast her. We want to act like we know what she's going through when we don't. Society puts immense pressure on being the perfect mom, always having to be patient, always being joyful, always being able to handle everything with ease. And that is a lie. It is a complete lie. You will not handle everything with ease. You will not be joyful about everything. There will be moments of absolute stress. And here's the thing, I also really feel like it depends on the individual themselves. I was not joyful about everything. And though now that my children are older and I have apologized and I've done some explaining, we've had some great dialogue so they could understand where I was as a young girl and growing into womanhood and raising them and trying to figure it out and explaining to them some of my battles. And though none of that is their fault and it's no excuse, it's just giving them some insight into some of the things that I was going through at the time that they were unaware of or didn't bring clarity. I didn't need them to give me pity or feel sorry for me or anything. I just wanted to not only apologize to my children for the things that I had done or I had said and make amends for the things, for those things, but to give them insight as to the fact that I have been given a beautiful title as a mom. And I am so thankful and so grateful for the blessing of having all three of my children. However, prior to me becoming your mom, a mom, I am Chanel. And Chanel had her own things that she was navigating through and trying to work through, as well as trying to be the best mom that I could be. And I feel like we don't give ourselves enough credit. We're too busy, listening to our families on the type of mom we should be, or if our parenting styles don't look like what they think it should be, listening to unrealistic expectations from society. Not only does it add to the anxiety and the stress, but it adds to the feeling of more inadequacy when it doesn't match the ideal. It doesn't. Like, I remember a time that I was fussing at the kids. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was fussing at them. I was frustrated. I was tired. I was exhausted. And it was a host of other things that was going on at the same time. And my mom said to me, Chanel, you cannot fuss at the children. And I do remember fussing at them because they simply weren't listening to what I was saying. And I just stopped and I cried. And my mom is like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? And it's because I am here doing all of this by myself and I'm only one person. I have three little people that all have different personalities, of course. They all are in need of different things, from the oldest to the middle to the youngest, all in different situations, all in different stages, as well as I'm in my own season and stage of it's a lot to take on by yourself. It's a lot. You're worried about yourself, you're worried about your children, you're worried about the bills, you're worried about a whole host of things compounded on top of, again, people around you trying to tell you what to do, how to navigate through this, that, and the third. And then you got society telling you, oh, because you spanked your kids, now we're going to call CPS. Because your child didn't eat breakfast or before they came to school, we're going to call CPS. Or, your child didn't come to school with a shirt iron. Oh, you're a bad mom. Or the ponytail was out of pocket. You're a bad mom. Or it's like, there are some days that you're just thankful to be able to wake up, thankful to be able to just get clothes on and get out the house in a timely manner. We have to stop placing so much pressure on parents, mothers especially, because we take the brunt and the burden of majority of it all, right? We have to stop putting so much pressure on mothers for perfection because it doesn't exist, especially when you have multiple children. Some days you are literally just flying by the seat of your pants. And while all these people are talking about, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to have this and you need to have that and you need to create this and you need to create that, how about you come walk a day in my shoes? Oh, well, I've been there. I've done that. But maybe you were operating only with one child. Maybe you were operating in a two-parent household. Maybe you were operating where you could work from home or you were a stay-at-home mom. Like, don't take your dynamic and automatically assume that your dynamic is going to work for somebody else's. Now, you could suggest, of course, all suggestions are always great, right? And your suggestions, could be followed up with the action by showing them how to get it done. And then you could lend a helping hand. Sometimes the helping hand isn't just placing a suggestion when you don't know where the mom is mentally. Sometimes helping is not just telling somebody what they should do or how they should do it. More so, hey, you know what? I'm going to come over. We're going to cook dinner together. We're going to get the kids squared away together. I'm going to bring a bottle of wine. We're going to sit down and talk. I'm going to let you vent, cry, whatever. Do you all have those type of support systems? Because I know, and this is no shade to my friends at all, because I absolutely adore my friends. But because I was so young when I started having children, my friends did not know how to help me in that space. And again, No shade to them at all. Because as we got older, I wasn't near them. I had relocated. So I wasn't near them to be able to help them in that capacity either. I'm just saying that we weren't at the age of when I started having children to be able to have that type of support system, is basically it in a nutshell. You know, you are sleep deprived, you're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. You want to tap out, but you know you can't tap out because those little people are looking up to you. They're needing you. You are fully responsible for everything that comes with them. They didn't ask to be here. You got them here. And so now it is your job to do everything you can for them and then some, right? And so you do your best. You do your best to show up in the best way possible. You do your best to be in the greatest headspace and the greatest emotional space. And it's so hard to say, I need help, because then everybody looks at you like, well, what is it that you need help? It's almost like a stigma when a mom says, I don't have it, or I need help. It's like, you got it. Don't worry about it. You're strong. You're going to get through it. It's going to be fine. In that moment, that's not what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like I'm ready to snap. And if you don't come and help me or get these children or send somebody to be a rescue in this moment, I don't know what's going to happen. It takes a lot of prayer, a lot of strength, a lot of different capacities to be able to navigate through so many different situations and dynamics in the midst of motherhood. The one thing that I want to say before I take this quick break is it is so important to remember that experiencing a range of emotions doesn't make you a bad mother. It simply makes you human. And I think that we forget that. I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, we're going to talk about some of the common mental health challenges in moms and how important it is to recognize them, reach out for help, and again, know that the people that you're reaching out to is your strong support system. So stay tuned, refill your glasses, and come back with me. All right, my gentle healers, thank you for coming back. Um, like I said, we're going to be talking about common health challenges and the most common ones, right? We face like so many different challenges in motherhood, and I want us to recognize them so that we can seek the support and seek the healing. Um, Again, I was a mom prior to my prefrontal cortex being developed. So there's a lot of mistakes that I made. There's a lot of things that I just simply had no emotional wherewithal. I lacked high levels of emotional intelligence. I lacked the understanding of deep levels of compassion. I did not understand a lot of the effects that a child has when they're that young. I lack so many different things. I didn't know how to explain and express what it was that I was going through. And to be quite honest, I was even afraid to express and explain some of the feelings that I was having, if I could even figure out what those feelings were, out of fear that I wasn't going to be a great mom. So, one of the biggest things that we don't talk about enough is postpartum depression. I suffered with postpartum depression horribly with my first daughter. And I can recall my daughter crying one day. I was cooking dinner and I was like feeding her and just kind of teetering back and forth. And my daughter, my sweet baby, was just crying and crying and crying and crying. And I was living at home with my mom, and my mom hadn't gotten home from work yet. And I called my mom in tears. Like, "Mom, what do I do? Like, I feel like I am going to go crazy. Like, I am going to snap." It's genuinely how I felt. But I looked at my daughter and I couldn't hurt her. She was the most beautiful thing that I had ever seen in my life, and she belonged to me. Uh, it still brings tears and that overwhelming feeling of just, oh, it's not a topic that's talked about enough. And we have to talk about postpartum depression and begin to try to prepare moms that may encounter it and let them know that they have a safe space to be able to talk about it, to call out for help, to lean on for help. Because when you're not a mom and you don't know what another woman is going through, or even if you are a mom and you're not even aware that you were dealing with postpartum depression, or that this woman is going through postpartum, or this new mom is going through postpartum depression, you can overlook the signs. I didn't know what postpartum depression was then. I know now. So I can speak to it. I can attest to it. I suffered. I suffered so bad with postpartum depression. And I think that particular moment stands out so much to me because it was the first time as a mom that I genuinely just felt like I can't do this. I can't. Mom, take my daughter because I don't know what to do. But I knew I loved my daughter. I knew I wanted to be the greatest mom ever. I knew that in that moment, I didn't know what to do. I didn't. I had no idea of what to do. And so many women suffer with that. So let me explain a little bit about what postpartum depression is. It is a heightened, intense, long lasting uh, feeling of the baby blues. Um, some fact checking that I did behind postpartum depression is that 1 out of 7 women will suffer from postpartum depression. It can have you feeling severe mood swings. You have withdrawal from family and friends. You have overwhelming fatigue. You have loss of like interest in activities, especially in the things that you once enjoyed. Postpartum depression, literally, is exactly what it says. It's depression. It's after having a baby, you once had like high levels of hormonal imbalance. They've plummeted now that you've had the baby. You are thrusted into a completely different lifestyle that you couldn't plan for over the term of the pregnancy simply because you didn't have the baby. Now you have the baby, and now you got to go through all of these different changes. Postpartum depression can also look like disconnect from your child. And though you don't want to disconnect, you cannot physically, mentally, and emotionally bring yourself to the place. I am super tenacious and I'm super determined. So I push through it. But I also know that there are a lot of moms out there that cannot just push through it. One thing that I will say in dealing with postpartum depression is that I wish that I was able to articulate what it was that I was feeling, and that I wish I could have kicked the feeling of fear that I was being an inadequate mom and have expressed to my mom what it was that I was going through. Even if I couldn't necessarily pinpoint the feeling, that I could say something that my mom could help me. Another thing that especially new moms go through is the baby blues. Fact checked again. About 80% of new moms experience the baby blues. And this comes shortly after giving birth. It normally happens right before postpartum depression, right? But postpartum depression was so important to explain just because it's magnanimous. It is, whew, y'all. It's tough. But the baby blues, it definitely still um it mimics postpartum depression, but again, it's right after having your baby. Of course, it includes the mood swings. You can have crying spells, anxiety, sometimes difficulty sleeping. And this usually happens like a few days after delivery. It can even last up to a couple weeks. Then the postpartum depression kicks in if you're not quite sure how to navigate, or if you don't have people coming around to be able to, be there with you. I want to say this in this session. Um, my cousin Clark is about 8 years younger than me, almost 9. Yeah, 8, 9 years younger than me. She was more of my lifesaver than she'll ever know. She spent an entire summer with me when I first had my daughter. That was my grounding space. That was my space of, I have somebody to connect with. I have somebody to still hang out with. I have somebody that's going to lack judgment. I have somebody that's going to be able to connect with me, not me as the mom, but me completely as her cousin. She came over every day or stayed the night, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for her. Like, if you can hear it in my voice, I'm still welling up in tears behind it because I needed her. And I didn't know that I needed her. I didn't know that I needed her until after that summer was over and I was able to reflect back and really hone in on the fact that I needed her that summer. We did so much stuff together. We went to the mall, we went shopping. Well, of course, at the mall, we had pizza. She was able to catch the bus with me and my daughter. And I get it. Like, now that I'm much older mom, I get why my uncle and aunt were hesitant about allowing my 9-year-old cousin to hang out with a 19-year-old mom. It could send the wrong message, could be very impressionable upon her about having kids early and so many different things. Um, but during our summers, I expressed to my cousin, don't have kids too early. Don't do things too soon. And my uncle and my aunt didn't know that I was having those conversations with her, but I didn't want her to look at me and say, oh, well, Nellie had a baby at 19, so I can do it too. I didn't want her to do that. And so even though I did something at such a young age, I always leaned into my cousins of don't do anything that I have done. I don't care how fun it looks. I don't care how adventuresome it looks. I don't care what it is. Do not do anything. I have always told them I am the prime example of what not to do. Now, that's not saying that I was a bad person. I didn't go to jail. I wasn't on drugs or none of that craziness, but I was definitely rebellious. I wanted to do things my way, and I wanted them to understand that it is okay to do it the way that your parents are telling you to do it. Find your footing, find your grounding, but definitely listen to your parents. Like, definitely listen to your parents. It's super important because I'm out here now, a mom at 19, not knowing what in the hell I'm doing, trying to figure it all out. And it was tough. It was tough. Okay, so let me dive some more into some of these other that we have going on. So, anxiety disorder, postpartum psychosis, and feeling of isolation. Um, I didn't deal with postpartum psychosis, thank goodness, because postpartum psychosis um, involves hallucinations, delusions, confusions, and paranoia. I'm so thankful that I didn't deal with that because I'm not exactly sure where my daughter or I would have ended up if I had dealt with that. So I can't really speak to that, but it definitely needs medical attention right away. And this is why it's so important, again, to have this support system so that the people around you can start to notice when things are off, when things are different in you. People that know you really well, people that love you and care about you and are attentive to who you are as an individual and where these changes are taking place, especially when they have noticed them starting to take place, so that they can help you get the help if you don't know how to seek the help. Anxiety disorder is big too, just because some mothers, experience heightened anxiety, which unfortunately is like in constant worry about the baby's health, fear of making mistakes, that feeling of like unable to relax. It is really weird, right? And then, being a mom is a lot tougher. Like, I'm sitting here doing this podcast with you all, and while I'm like talking about all of these things, I'm just replaying being a mom in my head and just thinking about each pregnancy, each like step after having my children. It just we don't talk about it enough. And yeah, we need to. Anxiety disorder can also develop into postpartum anxiety or obsessive compulsive disorder. And we don't realize how powerful the mind is and how one chemical balance being off, one heightened and dramatically dropped, level of hormones being off, like, it can completely throw you all the way off. I can't say for sure that I have dealt with anxiety disorder. I do know that I was a little more anxious with my son just simply because he had so many different like health issues, being born premature, um, and so many different things that happened during that pregnancy. So I do say that I was a little more anxious and a little more like, okay, what's going to happen to my son? But I don't believe that it transitioned into an anxiety disorder. It was more so now I'm being more vigilant about, what do I need to do for him and what do I need to do to make sure that he stays healthy and all of those different things. So I can attest to that one. And like I said, I can attest to the postpartum psychosis. But I do want to put those two out there, not just because, I didn't deal with it, but because it's important so that anybody that's listening to this that has a friend, a family member, or what have you, that is pregnant, looking to become a mom, these are topics that you can discuss, things that you can share with her, and not to scare her, but just to make her informed and make her aware so that she can pinpoint what it is she's feeling, or that you yourself can do some of the homework and become educated on it, so that as you're watching your friend or family member go through the pregnancy and thereafter, that you are aware, and maybe can get them help if you notice these are things that are taking place. Last but not least is the feeling of isolation. Um, Motherhood can be very isolating because, and this again takes me back, uh, being 19, all of my friends and I were 18, 19, 20. They're out having a good time, having fun, doing the things that teenagers do, travel, kicking it with friends, blah, blah, blah. And here I am by myself. I have nobody to hang out with, nobody to kick it with. I did go out for my 21st birthday, and it's so weird because um I had my daughter at 19, 2 weeks before my 20th birthday. So I'm dealing with my 20th birthday, having an infant, my 21st birthday, and my baby girl is just a little over a year old, right? And so now I want to hang out for my 21st birthday, but I have responsibilities. And I have to make sure my baby's fed, that she's bathed, that she's asleep, that, my mom has everything that she needs in order to keep her for me while I go out and hang out with my friends. And I still had to be home at a good time. I still had to, still had responsibilities that I had to deal with. And I'm so thankful for my mom that I didn't necessarily travel because I was definitely dedicated to being a mom. But I did get to hang out with my friends, and my mom did as my kids got older. My mom definitely took on a full role of being a grandmother, and I'm so appreciative and thankful for that. Um, but not having those friends that are so, you know, they love y'all friendship and love you so much that they will make sure that they are there for you. They will make sure that they drop in, check on you, check on the baby. I know that I love all of my friends' children. Unfortunately, because I live in a different state than my friends, I have missed out on so much and watching their children grow up or being a part of their lives. But I've watched my friends' children grow up via social media or them sending me pictures, and I'm so in love with all of my friends' children. I take great pride in, knowing that my friends' children are growing up happy and healthy and strong, and, you know, they're thriving. Even when we've heard situations where, our children are making poor decisions or making mistakes or not doing the right things, I am still so very proud of my friends for doing the best that they can, for providing all that they know to provide and then some for their children. I love my friends. They are my sisters. I love them. I love their children. And I always say, now that my children are older, I'm going into my rich auntie status, okay? I'm stepping into a completely different season and space where, yes, I am still a mom, and yes, I am always there for my children for whatever it is that they need. But I'm also getting a roll into the rich auntie status, so it's so super great. And of course, I want to leave you with something else. Before I take this next quick break and we roll into the next portion, of this, but understand that these challenges of the common mental health challenges that you can possibly face, or having the education and about these challenges, it helps to normalize them, and it encourages women to seek help when needed. Know that you're not alone. Know that support is available somewhere. It may not necessarily be directly in your inner circle, but there are support groups and there is help somewhere for you to, lean on other moms in that support group, or, talk to a therapist, talk to a life coach, just whatever it is that you need. You're not alone in this journey of motherhood and the challenges that we go through with our mental health. Okay? Now, if you need to get a refill, go ahead and get a refill on that drink. When I return, we're going to talk about the importance of self care and that seeking support. So stay tuned and stay with me. Okay, y'all, I am back and we are going to be tapping into that seeking support and the importance of you taking care of yourself. I know that you have a new responsibility of being a mom, but if you aren't healthy, it's no way that you can be there wholly for your child or for your children. So definitely prioritizing your self care, whether, that might just be a quiet cup of tea, you getting a nap, you being able to read a book, you being able to just go to the bathroom without a little person knocking on the door, mommy, 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 right? That might be just doing whatever, just blinking, just literally being able to blink, sit in the tub, drink a cup of Kool-Aid, eat your favorite snack, whatever that looks like for you. Prioritize that. Put it in your schedule. When that baby is taking a nap, if you're a stay-at-home mom or whatever the case may be, setting a schedule if you can, which is ideal, but I understand everybody's situation looks different. And so whatever it is that can work for you, prioritize that self-care. As I mentioned before, establishing a support network, knowing the people that you have around you that you can lean on, that you can talk to about what's going on. Again, like I mentioned before I went to break, joining a group, um, getting with a community of women who are in similar spaces you are in, or they were in that space. They also can provide that understanding. Reach out to whomever. Here's the other thing. At one time, childcare used to be the space of being able to take your child, get a break, go back, pick them up, right? And now, childcare is so scary for so many moms. And don't get it twisted. I completely understand why. Because you have heard so many stories on the news, or just a mom coming out sharing her story about sending her child to daycare, and it kind of puts you in a place of pause, like, wait, so I got to trust my child to a complete stranger, that they are going to take care of my child with the effectiveness and the efficiency, the love, the care, and the concern. It gives you pause. However, if you do know somebody that has a child care, and you do know somebody that is a licensed child care provider, don't be afraid to take your child there. Sit down, have a conversation with that child care provider. Understand, like, hey, I know you are my friend. However, this is my child. Or I know we know each other, but this is my child. This is aside from our friendship. This is aside from our connection. This is my child. I need you to care for my child as if you would want me to care for yours. Have that conversation. And I know sometimes that can be a tough conversation just because you don't want to have any friction or whatever. But I think depending on, and not I think, but the way that you verbalize it, the way that you sit down and you have that conversation, and though it is a serious conversation, the verbiage that you use, the tone that you take, the energy that you bring definitely has a positive or a negative impact on the way that the conversation can go. But have it. And again, establish that support system. Establish the support system for household tasks as well. If you are a mom of multiple children and you have older children, make sure that you delegate some of the chores in the house. If you are in a two-parent household and you know that you can lean on your spouse 100%, lean on your spouse. Begin to have those conversations about where you are mentally, emotionally, so that your spouse can pick up those pieces of where you just don't have it. Or just reach out so you can have somebody to be a listening ear. Being able to connect with other adults, just that goes a long way. And you really don't know how much it does go a long way until maybe you uh, listen to someone else's story. I didn't have 100% support in my first marriage with my younger two dad. I didn't. Um, I thought we was gonna have not the picture perfect because nobody's perfect. No family dynamic is perfect, but I definitely thought that I was gonna have a lot more support, and I didn't. And granted, we were young, we were in our 20s, but I just I don't know. I just thought it was going to be different. And I'm again so thankful to have had my family. My uncle Travis definitely has been a phenomenal uncle my entire life. And he, has stepped in to cut my son's hair when it needed to be cut, stepped in to hang out with my son when we still lived back at home. My mom and my grandma being such strong pivotal women in my life and just being so great as being a support system and just picking them up for the weekends and just giving me that break and that reprieve, especially when I started to be able to navigate when I needed a break or navigate those emotions and that feeling. Plus, they love their great grands so much that they were like, I'm coming to get my babies. So that was really big. You also don't know um how great or bad you have it in a situation because you go into survival mode until you are hearing other stories, right? And as a single mom, seeing other people navigate with two parent households, and though I didn't understand or know their complete story of what was going on inside their household or what have you, it's just the dynamic of being able to see them helping each other out. My aunt and my uncle navigating um co-parenting, and though they were together, they're still co-parenting, right? Inside of their relationship they had such a great system. Of course my grandmother was super pivotal in that, you know what I mean? That family dynamic is something that I always wanted for my children. And though I may not have had it within my marriage, I'm so thankful that I had at the time, that I have currently, and I know that I will always have with my family. It was really big, you know. I just mentioned communicating with your partner. Again, that is really big. Setting realistic expectations. Look, y'all, I I love having a clean house, right? It helps with my anxiety of not feeling like everything is all over the place. But when my kids were little, if it didn't get done, it just didn't get done. And I was not going to allow anyone to tell me what it should look like or how it should look. We lived. Sometimes our schedules was so crazy and so hectic and so bananas that if it was a pile of clothes on the floor in the bathroom from getting them undressed to give them baths and me trying to get in a shower, and that's just what it was. I cleaned up on Fridays or Saturday mornings, and it's so funny because when I talk to my youngest daughter, just always wanting to not live in the past, but have reflection so that I can see where I've grown from and where I'm headed to. My daughter said, "Mom, we knew it was Saturday morning and time to clean up because you would put music on and we were all like, oh, here we go." But I there were just certain things that I did not stress about. There were certain things that I was not going to I wasn't going to beat myself up about. As long as my children were happy, they were smiling, they were fed, they were clothed, they were that's just what it was. But it took me a little while to get there because when we relocated from Baltimore to Murfreesboro or Nashville, as most people would know, um, it was definitely a different dynamic. The support system was definitely different. The lives were different. My connections were different. It just it was different. It was a lot. And so I had to be realistic with myself about where I was, in this new dynamic. I had to be realistic about what I could accomplish, what I couldn't accomplish. And because it was just us four, there were spaces where I had to lean on my oldest a little more than when I reflect back than I genuinely wanted to, right? But I needed her. And I ended up using it as a game. You know what I mean? My youngest, she's 17 now, but when she was a kid, that thing was on point. That thing was like in it to win it. She could clean up her room. She knew how to, I made sure that my kids were as independent as they could be for the ages that they were. They knew how to clean their rooms, make up their beds the best way possible. And I never expected them to be perfect. However, I did show them the right way so that as they continue to grow, it could get better and better and better. And now here they are. Now, half the time they don't want to make up their beds. That is pure choice. Whatever. I'm not battling about making up beds. They know how to. They know. It again, I focused on the things that truly mattered. I focused on their happiness. I focused on them getting out of the state. Sometimes there were weekends I would just be like, "Hey y'all, we're getting up early Saturday. We're hopping in a car and we're just going to connect to this state right here." We have driven to several states in the surrounding areas just because I didn't want us to be stuck. And those were the things that mattered to me. While other people were like, "Oh, we got to take them shopping and getting our kids the latest Jordans and the latest this and the latest that." My kids have experienced the other places. And yeah, we went shopping in the other places and the kids got things. I did what I could afford. And even though, I have had a couple situations where there were people that were calling somebody else to tell them how my kids look, and then they wanted to try to blast me. Baby, you don't even know what I'm going through, what my situation is, what my pockets look like, nothing. You don't know anything about what's currently going on or the surrounding circumstances of why the kids are dressed the way that they're dressed versus why I'm dressed the way that I'm dressed. Y'all focal point is on the wrong thing. Now, at that time, I was feeling a little froggy, so I definitely spoke on it. But now that I'm older, I realize it wasn't even worth it. You want to know why? Because my kids were happy, and that's what mattered to me. My kids were happy. Um, so moving along. Mindfulness and relaxation is um something else that's like super, super important to connect with. Sometimes you got to put away the phone, put away all the other things, and be present in the moment. Practicing that mindfulness with yourself, with your children, having deep breathing exercises, excuse me, um, taking those walks, anything to help reduce your stress, improve your mood, doing the things that you love to do are all like great things to keep yourself as even keeled as possible. When you're a mom, when you're a parent, period, you already know that every day is not going to look the same. There are going to be moments that's more catastrophic than others. There's going to be days that are more stressful than others. But if you can find yourself in a space of being able to dive into doing the things that you love or dive into things that can reduce your stress, all the better. All the better. Remember that, again, you're not alone. You're doing the best that you can. You're figuring this thing out because parenting doesn't come with a handbook. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, seek your support. Seeking support is not a weakness. It actually is strength to be able to step up and step out and say, hey, this is what's going on in my world. I could use some help. Taking care of yourself, keeping your stress down is going to be one of the best things that not only you can do for yourself, but also you can do for your child. Because when you're great and you're in a great space, your child gets to be in a great space. And our children thrive off of us, right? When we're sad, they sad. They're so interconnected into who we are that it then begins to reflect in their behavior. And while we are trying to figure out why they're acting out of pocket, we sometimes don't look back at ourselves and what the energy it is that we're putting out. So again, seek that support because it is not a weakness. It is for sure a strength. It for sure. And we I feel like we've been conditioned to believe that going to a therapist, seeking a life coach is for crazy people, is for people that don't know how to conduct themselves, don't know how to handle themselves. But when you really understand the power of the mind and how you can go from being the most sane person you know to being the most insane person you know, seeking help is like at the top of your list. At the top of your list. And here's the thing, too. Even if you don't have the capacity of being able to get professional help, right? Because maybe you don't have insurance or maybe you don't have the financial means to pay for it. There are educational resources, books, what you're listening to right now, podcasts, take an online class about motherhood or about mental health. It can offer insight and tips. It doesn't mean that you'll have a for sure answer about how to navigate this, right? But it will definitely lead you in the right direction. The more you read, the more you know. The more you listen, the more you talk to other people, it will start to all come together. The pieces of the puzzle will begin to just fit and it'll be all in proper alignment. Now, again, you're human. So that's not saying that you're going to be perfect. That's not saying that you're going to have it all figured out because you're not. Guess what? If you are a mom of one child, you are going to be a first time mom at every age because you've never had a child before at this age, right? Just like that child is going to be a first time child to you at this age. So they're not going to, y'all navigating this thing together. Simple. So you're going to make mistakes. The child is going to make mistakes. You have to figure it out together, but knowing that you can get through it is what's going to be the most important thing. You can get through it. Healthy lifestyle choices is another really big thing that I thought about, like when I was deciding to do this particular topic, and again just reflecting back on my own parenting and just raising my children, having a healthy lifestyle. And a healthy lifestyle doesn't necessarily mean eating healthy, although that is, important for your body, and even showing your kids eating healthy is good for their development and things of that nature too. But being active, not smoking, not drinking, not being in environments where you are allowing negative things into your being. I'm a big believer now, because when I was younger, I was like, I don't even understand what you're saying. It's just music. I don't understand what you're talking about. It's just a movie. I don't understand what you're talking about. It's just a party. It's just a club. But now that I'm older, I really understand that the things that you watch, you listen to, you subject yourself to, the people that you hang around, if you're allowing all of those things into your being, you are keeping yourself around that type of negative energy, it definitely has an effect. I think about some of the people that I was connected with while my kids were younger, right? And I ended up taking and adapting some of like who they are into my parenting style. And then when I stopped hanging around them, I went back into being legitimately and honestly, authentically who I am. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. That wasn't me. That was somebody else. And so I really had to start picking and choosing very carefully the people that I allowed in my home, the people I allowed around my children, the people that I hung out with, or the group activities that I did. Like I had to be really, really careful and definitely more cognizant. So having that healthy lifestyle can, boost your mood, your energy levels. Having that healthy lifestyle brings a different level of happiness to your home. It brings a different sense of peace to your home, and not just for you, but also for your children. Because when you're good, they're good. Having a routine and having a structure too is a part of that healthy lifestyle. So that way you can create those pockets of windows of time and space that's dedicated simply for you. Again, whether that is taking a bath, whether that is drinking a cup of tea, whatever it is, establishing a routine and a structure, but also being able to be flexible in your routine and in your structure, because you can have a sense of control and a sense of predictability of what may happen. You know what I mean? Especially when you have multiple children and your children start getting into activities. Having that routine, that structure definitely creates less stress. Now, when my kids were younger, I was definitely way more structured because I had different activities that I had to get them to, dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, all kinds of things. And I tried to keep them all on the same schedule so that we could just do one visit at a time. But sometimes, the kids got sick. And so there was something that kind of threw a monkey wrench in that. But for the most part, kept the routine, kept the structure, knew what time we needed to get out of the house, knew what time, I had to leave a certain space to pick them up from daycare or from school, had to keep track of their school schedules. Now, I wasn't perfect. Okay. There were a couple times that I didn't realize that the kids had a half a day. I was tired. I overslept, had to hurry up and get to the kids. There were a couple times that I forgot that there was an after school event that the kids were in attendance to. I'm looking for them on a bus. I'm freaking out. Now so I'm human, of course, and we all are, right? But just having that routine and that structure does help to alleviate um those type of situations. Not saying they won't happen, but it help alleviate having so many. Now, moms, this is something that is super important that I myself didn't do until my kids started getting older. And this was celebrating the small wins. Whew. I wish I would have celebrated more small wins when the kids were younger, and even just for myself. If all of the laundry was done, that is a small win. I'll take it. If the house is completely clean before I go to bed, That is a small win. I'll take it. If I was able to find 15 minutes for myself to just breathe, that was a small win. And I should have celebrated those small wins. And I didn't. I didn't. I I just was in survival mode for the most part of their childhood. And I'm free now. I'm able to live, and so I'm able to have a different type of conversation with the kids. Um, I'm always and will forever be their biggest cheerleader because I want them to be great, but I also allow them to navigate their own life. But I definitely share with them to celebrate the small wins. Hey, you got up today, you took a bath, you got your teeth brushed, you did your hair, celebrate it. Because some days are harder than others. And though they're not moms, they still have mental health that they are navigating, right? Dealing with friends and society and social media and so many different things. So, learning that I should have celebrated those small wins for me, it translate into me being able to share with them and other moms, as well as I'm sharing with you all, celebrate the small wins. If you can get a cup of tea and you don't have to share, and it doesn't even have to be hot tea, it could be iced tea, and you don't have to share it with your kids. If you can get a dinner that you don't have to share with your children, if you got a piece of candy that you don't have to share with your child or your children, that is a small victory. And you should take it. You should take it. Because here's the thing, even your small victories is staying connected to your friends. It's like if I get to go hang out with my best friend, my sisters, whatever the case may be, I'm doing good. Look, here's the thing. Okay, so I told you I relocated to Nashville, and who is my sister here, best friend here, Sharice. We celebrated the small victories on Thursday when the show The Game came on. That was our time. We structured in that moment for us. So we would both get our kids down. We literally lived right next door to each other. Now, at the time, Sharice had cable. I didn't. So I would get the kids bathed, fed, make sure that everything was cut off, like all of the major appliances, the stove. I would unplug anything that the kids could hurt themselves with, whatever. They had, my oldest daughter had a phone. So she knew she could call me, and Sharice's number was saved in her phone. I believe it was. If I'm not mistaken, Sharice's number was saved in her phone. So it was saved in her phone. She knew exactly where I was. I always would leave out directions if they woke up or whatever. Everybody had like a juice box out on the table if they woke up in the middle of the night thirsty. And I would go next door, and Sharice and I would watch the show. Now, the show was 30 minutes long, but anything can happen in 30 minutes. So during commercial break, I would run next door, check on the kids, make sure everybody was still in the bed, safe and sound. Nobody had gotten up, hurt themselves, whatever the case may be. And that was our every Thursday routine, right? So even in structuring our own personal lives with our children and work and all of that, we structured in being able to stay connected with each other. It kept us from feeling so isolated in such the mundane of life and just trying to just navigate all of the whirlwind of all of the things that come along with it. And the biggest thing in having that friendship, um, and I say this every time I talk about like healing and topics such as these, is that Cherie saved my life too. Completely different season of my life, but she saved my life. She was the yin to my yang, and a space where I really needed a friend, and I didn't feel so isolated. I didn't feel like I was in a space where I had absolutely no one, because I was going through some uphill battles with my family. I wasn't as connected with my siblings as I would have loved to be. I didn't know quite how to explain what it was that I was going through. So I really felt isolated. I felt alone. And I think because I wasn't really allowing them in. They couldn't get the gist or grab on to what I was going through at the time. So it was all hard. It was all tough. It just, yeah, it was pure craziness. And so having Sharice, and we're still friends to this day. That's my girl. When I tell you, that's my ride or die right there. That is, again, my another sister. It's so beautiful to have sisters in my hometown and a sister here, right? And her sisters are my sisters. It's so funny. They are Sharice, Chevelle, and Siobhan. And I just happen to fit in as Chanel. So yeah, it's so perfect. I love having them in my life. They are the greatest. And even in my friendship with Sharice and Chevelle and Siobhan, we've had, our battles. Now, here's the thing. I won't say we've had our battles, but my friendship, my relationship with Chevelle and Siobhan has grown over the years because my friendship was directly connected with Sharice. And so now that we've gotten older, we've matured, we've grown and gotten through all of our things, I love them to pieces. That is definitely my sister connection other than my sister. And so even in this, my relationship with my sister has gotten better, but we had to go through the journey to get there. So, don't avoid like difficulties in the conflicts of life. Don't avoid them in the process of you like figuring it all out and building your resilience. I did, and that was a part of a big problem of mine that I had to come to terms with and I had to fix, right? Building the resilience is developing the strength to overcome all of the different things in motherhood and, you know, navigating through all of the obstacles and all of the things that come with motherhood. You, as a mom, if you're an aunt that's taken on the role of a mom, if you are a cousin that's taken on a role, if you're a new mom, if you're a second time mom, a seasoned mom, whatever the case may be, you are capable and you have the right to have a beautiful support system. And you can thrive through this. You just have to be able to navigate each season, right? Give yourself grace, give yourself the space to make mistakes, to feel what you're feeling, seek the help, and know that it is going to be okay on the end. Now, I definitely have made this a pretty long episode because it was so important to me to talk about all of the things that come along with it and share some stories and just for you all to know that you're not alone. And I hope whoever is listening to this even shares it with somebody else and maybe y'all can talk about it. I want all of my episodes to be conversation starters, honestly. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up because I think that I've covered a lot and I think there is a lot to talk about from this episode. But I definitely wanted to wrap this up with some words of encouragement and just bring it all home. One, motherhood is a journey. It's going to be filled with so many ups and downs. And know that it is okay to feel overwhelmed, feel uncertain, or even feel exhausted. The feelings that you are dealing with, the emotions, it doesn't diminish your love for your child or even your abilities as a mother. So if you're thinking that, let that go. You are human and you are navigating your way through. So that's number one. Number two, trust your instincts. You know your child and you know yourself better than anyone else. Trust yourself. And if you feel like you cannot trust yourself because of something that you feel like you're going through, because of the postpartum depression or the postpartum psychosis or the anxiety disorder or the baby blues or whatever it is, don't forget to seek the help. It is okay. It is a strength, not a weakness. Remember that you are not alone. So many of us share in similar experiences. And again, reaching out can create meaningful connections. You can find your community of moms who are in the same space, have been in that space, and are maybe still in the space and need the assistance and the love from other women and moms such as yourself. Again, you're not alone. And last but not least, I want you to remember your mental health matters. Taking care of yourself is not only important and beneficial for you, but it also sets a positive space of peace, joy, and an example for your child. Literally, it's great. I am so in love with the fact that my children and I are in such a great space. You know, we bump heads, of course, because I'm mom and they're children and they're figuring it out, but we're in a beautiful space and I love it. Embrace your journey with all the imperfections that it comes with. Know that you are doing an incredible job based on you having whatever tools it is that you have on this journey of motherhood. Every day is a new opportunity for you to grow, to be the better version of yourself than you were the day before, and to be able to find the happiness and the joy in little moments. Everything doesn't have to be um, a mountain out of a molehill. It doesn't. Celebrate the small wins, connect with your people, stay connected with your family and friends, continue to seek help, prioritize your self care, read books, do all of the things that is going to keep you on the right path of greatness and a positive, meaningful journey so that you can be the greatest version of a parent that you can be. I hope this podcast, as long as it is, I hope this podcast reaches someone, it impacts someone that is going to be pivotal in someone's life. As always, I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Talking Toast. Motherhood is a big impact on our mental health, and it is a conversation that deserves openness, compassion, grace, and fairness. I want to remind you all, if you know someone that is struggling, please reach out for support. If you know someone that is reaching out for the support, reach back. And if you can't help them, lead them in the right direction of someone that can. And it could be a loved one or it could be a professional. Moms, I want you to remember again that you are not alone and help is available. Communities are available. If you found this episode, helpful, please stay connected with me. Share it with others, and let's continue to support each other on the journey. Because this isn't the end, right? We still will forever be mothers. We will forever be parents, helping our children and navigating life with them and navigating our own journey as mothers. Until next time, keep raising your glasses to strength, to your courage, and to being the incredible mother that you are.